It has been a bit quiet in the past weeks here, and this has several reasons. For once, I have joined the partner program for Soul Mask, and I've been making content on that game for my variety channel. But I have gotten offers like this in the past, and I usually denied them in order to full-time work on this and the other ARK channel. In one of my last ARK videos where I talked about my opinion about the direction ARK is going, I talked about the game losing immersion because of cosmetics being added to the game that have not much to do with the game. By the time I made that video, I had no idea how much my fear would turn out to be an understatement of the situation we're in yet. ARK hasn't only lost immersion, ARK has started to lose ARK itself. The center came out and I was very open about how the center was never been my favorite map. I never spent a lot of time on there, and the time I did spend on the center was because it was the emptiest map on our cluster, so I could mass breed dinos without fearing to hit the dino cap anytime soon. With the release of the center, I was in a I'm happy for everyone who's looking forward to it situation. But myself, I got a base spot together with my friends and I didn't really have the time to put more into it. One thing that somewhat poisoned the center release for me was the release of the Pyromane. Studio Wildcard introducing another paid thing into the game, still in early access. See, I was fine with Bob's Tall Tales. It has enough content to be considered a DLC on its own. It applies to several maps as well. The Oasisaur was nice, but on the other hand also not worth taming, as it eats up so many slots in your dino cap that only by having it, you would block all of your game progression if you are a breeder. And I didn't bother too much taming one, and I didn't feel like I was missing out too much. The only time we really used it was to revive a sentimental Jabur that had to be brought back. But the Pyromane? With the release of the center, the first of many single paid creatures has been introduced into the game. It spawns on Scorched Earth, where it's almost untamable as it needs water, but it spawns in the Wyvern Trench. And it also spawns on the center, where you can find it on a weirdly green volcano island. The Pyromane overstepped a line for me, where I would consider a monetization method to be game-breaking, predatory, immersion breaking, and fun breaking. I totally understood the concerns people had about the Oasisaur being right in their face and then telling them to buy the tame. But the Oasisaur wasn't a tame you needed to go for. It was one you maybe wanted to go for, but only because you wanted to have it. The Pyromane, on the other hand, is low-key a thing you have to get when you want to keep up with the game meta, and there lies one of my issues with it. There's a difference between people wanting to pay you because they like you and they want to see you succeed and they want to see you grow, or making people feel like they have to pay you in order to keep their heads up, especially in a competitive environment. But even if we're looking into the PvE communities, I don't feel like whoever makes the decision has a clue about the culture that is ARK in PvE. PvE is not people playing pretend in a video game. PvE is still a highly competitive playstyle. People collect and breed lines for dinos. The biggest breeders are usually widely known in the community. Trading is happening. A lot of value is connected to the creatures traded. The community has been hit once already after people were able to bring over Rhino-Gnathas and other creatures to Scorched, which at this point was still closed off for transfers. Despite many people reporting it and many people even reaching out to me to forward their reports, there had been no enforcement on it. And while there was enforcement, on the other hand, in PvP. This sends clear signals to the PvE community. First, we don't care about you, and second, it shows people who cheat and take advantage of bugs that they will always get away with it as long as they do it in PvE. Legit breeders could never compete with people who cheated, but legit breeders are the backbone of the PvE community, even PvP to some degrees, but PvP got enforcement. PvE usually has a strong sense of self-governing and usually handles things on their own, but when this decision was made, I saw people losing their trust. I saw people I would consider die-hard official players just simply leaving and letting their bases decay. If they had to cheat in order to compete, they would rather not play at all. And these are the small events happening in the community. Events adding up with every announcement that does not address the user's concern, but tries to sell them something new they did not ask for. And this causes reactions like the ones I have seen in the past few weeks. And it's not like ARK could afford this. I mean, we always joke around about how ARK players hating the game but still keep playing it. But that's because people love playing ARK. But there also was no other game like this that could keep people playing. But this has changed. This year, more survival games than ever have been published to the world. There are now real competitors to ARK, and this year has not been over yet. There are now many releases with far less problems, and an alienated player will not try to stay loyal to ARK when there's basically a big plate full of other game goodies out there. And the game devs that are publishing their games now know that. If there is a big group of disappointed players, then there is a group that wants something new. You just have to deliver. And I know it firsthand because devs are reaching out to me covering their game, and I see them going the extra mile trying to find ARK creators. I see other developers explicitly targeting the ARK community with PR and outreach. Other devs notice, and this is the situation now. The Fantastic Creatures DLC will continue to put creatures out on other maps. We might face this situation where we have 5 or 6 creatures on different maps that we encounter that we can't tame until we pay for it. And if I am completely honest, the whole situation makes me sad, as I have spent thousands and thousands of hours in the franchise. Call some of the devs in this game my friends, as spending so much time in the game as a creator makes you spend just as much time talking to the devs for suggestions, for bugs, or for exploits. It gives me stomachache because when people fall out of love with a game, they won't come back. They will find something new to love and they find something else to play. Games are supposed to be fun and not make you feel bad because you can't invest enough money into it. The beginning of the script here was sitting on my PC for 2 weeks. I couldn't bring myself to actually make this video because I don't want to be a creator that punches down for some clicks. I try to see constructive solutions in problems. I try to put myself into the shoes of the other side to see the reasoning, why they do something the way they do it. But I also have my principles, and these come from a childhood and a past where we lived in poverty and where entertainment was gatekept by money, and the constant fear of being left out because of circumstances I had no influence on. And it reminded me every day of how little value my life had. And yes, this sounds dark and depressive, but that is exactly how a life like that felt. At the time, there were games who would not remind me of these things. I would buy my first games discounted at the electro market, or I would get them gifted by friends who moved on to other games. I would buy gaming magazines when they had full versions of games in there that I have never heard of but then started to love. This is how I got to know Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, Diablo, Soul Reaver, Legacy of Kain, Thief, all of the classics I could play, and that made me forget about how miserable things were around me. And those are the games and the memories that I hold close to my heart. And ARK was one of those memories. I got ARK gifted from a friend when it came out because my friend group wanted to play the game. They left after a few weeks, but I did stay. I met many new friends all around the world. I built a career on my gaming endeavors. I learned programming because of ARK. I dabbled into game development because of ARK. And this franchise that I love and that I spent thousands and thousands of hours in moved into a direction that becomes everything that I despised about other games in the past. And I'm not only sad because it taints the future, but also that this development taints the past and the dear memories that I have created in the past 9 or now 10 years of playing ARK Survival Evolved. I'm not saying goodbye to ARK like other creators. I still look at every community crunch. I look at the tweets, the discussions on my Discord and on here. I'm reading Steam discussions. I try to stay informed, but the spark isn't sparking. I couldn't care less about Power Rangers. I have not looked into Club ARK. I want improvements on the maps. I want bugs on the maps being fixed. I want the new creatures that came out to be fixed because almost all of them are broken at the moment. I want all of that before a new creature is dropped that requires my community to pay for it in order to enjoy the full game content, and I'm sure I'm not the only person asking for this. I hope whoever makes the decisions listens to this. If you alienate your player base that loves the game deeply, it only needs another game to offer the bare minimum for them to jump ship. None of my hardcore ARK playing official friends is on ARK anymore. Focus on the people who love your game. They were the ones that kept your player numbers up consistently, not the people who jump from game to game every week. ARK as an IP has always been strong enough on its own. It does not need to be diluted by other IPs that people only partially can relate to. And for once, I have no solution. Just a broken heart of the direction the game is moving towards too. But I stay optimistic that the survival of the game will become more important than to monetize every single part of it.